Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here. In today's video, we're going to be going over the all-new 2024 Hummer EV SUV. So in the first part of the video, we're going to go over the confirmed information, and then we'll get into just a little bit of speculation, but they've given us quite a bit so far. And then we'll get into the importance of this Hummer EV SUV, and then we will get into whether or not you should purchase one. With all that being said, let's get right into the video. Now let's go over the confirmed specs for this new Hummer EV. So first off, it's coming out for the 2024 model year, so expect these to arrive late 2023, early 2024. Now they've released 4 packages with this SUV. We have the EV2, the EV2X, the EV3X, and then the Edition 1. Starting price is just under $80,000, and then the Edition 1 starts at almost $106,000, so it's a pretty big price difference. Now the differences between these packages are basically with the motors. So the EV2s have 2 electric motors, whereas the EV3 has 3 motors, and then the Edition 1, right, is the fully loaded one, so that one has 3 motors as well. And so there's a power output difference. So with the EV2s, they have 625 horsepower, and I know that GM releases crazy torque figures, but the actual real world torque figures, it's about 1,000 pound-feet of torque with the EV2, and then with the EV3, 830 horsepower and then about 1,100 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is going to be mid-3s for this SUV, so pretty good. And then something that's pretty interesting is this SUV is actually smaller than the truck, which makes sense, right, because you don't have the truck bed. So the truck has a wheelbase of 136 inches, whereas this has a wheelbase of about 126 inches. So it's about 10 inches shorter pretty much, which, I mean, it's a pretty substantial difference. Now aside from that, it does get all of the cool tech that you get with the truck. So the air suspension and the crab walk as well, and then there is an off-road package they're offering that'll give it 18-inch wheels and then 35s. I think they should offer 37s as well. I mean, the new Raptor has 37s, so this new Hummer EV needs to have 37s on top of that. And then it'll also come with cameras everywhere. And then something that I think is pretty interesting that I really want to experience for myself is the fact that it doesn't have a locking, it has a locking front differential, but it doesn't have a locking rear differential. It has electric, so the rear motors basically mimic a locking differential in the rear, which is kind of interesting, and I want to experience what that feels like. That's very strange to me, right? It's kind of foreign in a sense, and so I want to see what that is all about. Now aside from that, they're shooting for a range of about 300 miles, and then also fast charging with their batteries. That's kind of something that they're really kind of emphasizing, is they want these to be able to have just really fast charging. Now aside from that, interior wise, it's going to have massive screens, so massive infotainment system like 13 inches or something like that, and then gauge cluster 12-13 inches as well. So just, you guys will see the interior shots, just massive screens on the interior. And then like I said, with the higher up packages, you'll get a nicer interior. So like the Edition 1, you're going to have really nice materials everywhere, and it's going to come with pretty much everything standard interior wise. And then something that's really cool, I think, feature wise, is just like the Jeep Wrangler and the Ford Bronco, you can take the top off. And so yes, this is a crazy 1,000 pound-foot of torque electric SUV with a tire on the back, right? That's something I didn't mention, but you guys probably already saw in the photos. And it's a convertible. I think that this new Hummer SUV is so cool. It's very expensive though, obviously. And then on top of that, if we go to the rest of the tech, it is going to have all of GM's newest safety technology, so like their Super Cruise, blind spot monitoring, all that kind of stuff. And on the higher up packages, right, that's going to be all completely standard as well. And then they're still using Bose for the sound system, which is pretty interesting. I thought that they would use something a little bit more premium. Like in the new Escalade, they have the AKG sound system, which is amazing. 36 speaker sound system, best sound system I've ever heard in a vehicle. They should probably throw that in the Hummer, especially with how much they're charging for this thing. So I think it's interesting they're using Bose. But yeah, that's pretty much everything we know. Is it's basically the truck, but it's not the truck, right? It's an SUV instead, but it has all the features of the truck. A little bit less on the horsepower compared to the truck, but torque figures are pretty much the same. It's a little bit smaller than the truck, but everything that is crazy and cool about the truck, this SUV gets the same, but it's an SUV. So just a little bit different. Now let's get into the importance with this Hummer EV SUV, and I think it's pretty important because we're finally getting the Hummer back, right? It's been so long since we've had a Hummer. I know this is completely different from the original Hummers, right, with their gas V8s and the diesel engines, but still really cool, crazy power figures, and it's just bringing the Hummer into the modern world. And I mean, the truck, right, so many pre-orders on the Hummer truck when they released that, and that's well over 6 figures. This SUV is a little bit more affordable, and so I think there's going to be even more people that buy it. And plus, whenever I think of a Hummer, I think of the SUV. I don't really think about the Hummer trucks as much, right? They're cool, but I don't know, the like whole SUV aesthetic with the tire on the back and everything, like that's what I think of when I think of a Hummer. And so I think that this is just going to do so much better because it's just kind of closer to like what we think of as the original icon for the Hummer. Now, aside from that, obviously it's a strong competitor in the EV segment, and it's just giving us something really unique that not a lot of other EV manufacturers are giving us, right? Tesla, for example, that's the most popular, doesn't make anything like this, right? We have the new Cybertruck coming out, but the Cybertruck doesn't have a convertible top, and it doesn't have all the cool features like the crab walk and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's going to have some cool stuff, but it's just not on the same level as the Hummer EVs that we get with the truck and then with this SUV as well. And so I just think it's going to do really well because it's so iconic, but on top of that, it's just giving us something unique that we don't have right now, that nobody's really attempting to do. It's pretty interesting, and that'll get me into going over whether or not you should look into buying one of these, and it just depends on what you're looking for. So obviously this is going to be a huge status symbol. The Hummer has always been a big status symbol, right? It's, hey, I make a lot of money, so I drive around this big gas hog SUV. That's what it used to be, and now it's, hey, I make a lot of money, so I can afford to buy this 6-figure electric super SUV that accelerates faster than, you know, a lot, I mean, so many muscle cars and then some super cars as well, which is just crazy, right? That's just how things are nowadays. So obviously status symbol. But on top of that, if you just want a vehicle that has so many different uses, this is going to be fantastic because first off, especially in the higher up packages, it's a full-blown luxury car. So you're getting a really nice luxury interior, and with that air suspension and everything, it's going to have a really nice ride quality. I haven't driven one, but we can imagine it's going to be really good from a ride quality perspective. GM knows how to do that. After driving the Cadillac Escalade for a week, I can tell you they're really good at making vehicles have a smooth ride quality. So first off, it's this luxury vehicle, but then on top of that, crazy quick acceleration, so you're getting kind of like a sporty experience, and so you kind of get like, I mean, obviously it's a big heavy vehicle, but you kind of get somewhat of a sports car, just at least from an acceleration perspective, so that's pretty cool. But then on top of that, you're getting this crazy capable off-road vehicle as well, and obviously since it's not the truck, you don't have the truck bed and all the utility there, but being an SUV, right, it still has quite a bit of utility. And on top of that, it's a convertible. Like, there's just so many different uses for it. And so you can imagine you literally one day could be taking this to your, you know, big fancy office job, because that's probably what you have if you're buying one of these. And then the next day you could be out in the middle of the desert, top off, and just driving through and having tons of fun, and, you know, avoiding rocks with the crab walk and everything. And so yeah, overall, really cool vehicle. There's just so much utility for it. And so yeah, it's really expensive, but then when you think about all the different uses that this vehicle has, I think it's actually, I wouldn't really call it a bargain necessarily because of the price, but there's a lot of inherent value, especially if you can get one at sticker. I don't know what GM dealers are doing with these. I'm sure that they're, especially with the market right now, they're charging tons over sticker, but like for that edition one, $105,000 sticker price, pretty expensive, but it's coming pretty much fully loaded. And so getting, again, a crazy fast accelerating SUV that you can take off-road that's also a luxury car for $105,000, I think that's a pretty good value overall, just all things considered. And so yeah, if that's what you're looking for, then I would definitely look into getting one of these new SUVs. And I think the SUV is the route to go. It looks better, it just looks a little bit more iconic if you ask me. But that's going to sum things up for today's video on this new Hummer EV SUV. As always, if you're stopping for the first time, I'd really appreciate if you'd subscribe, and I'll see you guys.